all started when Tony locked eyes with Oliviera at his homecoming party after graduating from college. He could swear he has just found the love of his life. Could this be love at first sight? Did Oliviera feel the same way he felt? He has heard so much about her, but was only meeting her for the first time. There was something different about her, and the way he felt. Maybe it was the way Oliviera smiled back at him, or the way her white V-neck dress sat on her body. Perhaps the lighting in the environment made a spark on her warm beige skin, but it was something more. Talking to Olivia wasn't a problem. It was his party, and Oliviera was his mum's best friend. That was strange. Why was he getting feelings for someone almost 2 decades older than him? Tony was a fine 20-year-old young man, and many girls his age would do anything to be with him. He was also smart and graduated top of his class. Maria, Tony's mum, always boasted of how proud she was of her son and how Tony had grown into a fine young man. Tony's parents decided to throw a homecoming party to celebrate Tony for his feats overseas. When he was finally in town, Maria invited Oliviera to the party so Oliviera could meet the boy she always spoke highly of, and Oliviera obliged. Maria was right. Tony was exactly as his mother had described him. "What a pleasant surprise, Aunt Ollie," Tony said with excitement. "We finally meet." Oliviera smiled at the young man and stretched out her hand for a handshake, but Tony reached out for a warm hug. He didn't know when he ended up in Oliviera's arms and shared a passionate hug. Maria stared excitedly. She didn't tell her son that she was inviting her best friend. She wanted it to be a surprise. It was Tony's party, but Oliviera felt like the co-celebrant with the way Tony honored her throughout the party. During the party, Oliviera found herself admiring the young man. She tried to understand what was happening to her. Was she falling for her best friend's son? She dismissed the feelings and told herself to just enjoy the party. After the party, Tony asked his mum about Oliviera, and Maria shared everything she knew about her best friend with her son. She mentioned that Oliviera lost her husband 3 years into their marriage, and since then, she refused to remarry. Tony's feelings for her mum's best friend had him doing some personal research about Oliviera. He found that she was a successful salesperson with several awards to her name. Days passed, and Tony struggled to ignore how he felt about Oliviera. Thankfully, he wasn't going back overseas anytime soon. He spent most of the time with his new aunt, but he was up to something. Oliviera had no qualms with Tony always coming to visit her. She wasn't naive. Oliviera knew what Tony was up to. He was waiting for the right time to share his feelings with her. They talked about everything and how Oliviera had to deal with her husband's death. Being a widow meant Tony could get a chance with her. Every day was a struggle until Tony found the courage to share his feelings with her mother's best friend. One day, on his way to Oliviera's house, he stopped by a pizzeria to get pizza for her. As Tony approached Oliviera's house, he began to feel anxiety. He wasn't sure what response he would get after confessing his true feelings to Oliviera. As usual, she opened her door to him, but this time, Tony stared passionately at her. She could see his eyes admiring every detail of her body.
"Hello, Tony. I can see you bought pizza. Come in quick before the pizza gets cold."
Tony sat on the couch in Oliviera's living room, while as she poured them some wine. As they sat down to eat the pizza, Tony took the bold step and told Oliviera how he felt about her and what he wanted.
"We cannot have this conversation, Tony. I love your mom like a sister, and I don't want anything to ruin the beautiful thing we have going,"
Oliviera retorted. Tony refused to accept no for an answer.
"Have you ever imagined the age difference between us?"
I'm sorry, Ma. You and I both know age is just a number. And if I get you correctly, you're only not going to give us a chance because of my mom and age, not because you don't feel something for me. I know you can tell that I'm in love with you, and I can tell that you feel the same way too. I only want you to admit how you feel about me, instead of bottling it inside you the way you've been doing since the night we first met.
That's your head playing with your emotions, Tony. You already know what you're asking for is not possible. I am your mother's best friend, and nothing of sort can happen between us.
Oliviera walked out of the room, but she knew the young man was right. She was also in love with him. She feared how she could possibly be in a relationship with her best friend's son, almost 3 decades between them. There was always something about Tony's generation. They never give up. She would need more than the relationship between her and the boy's mother and their age difference to keep him from coming. It's even tougher now that she is also in love with him. The only way out would be to keep a distance between both of them. Oliviera stopped Tony from visiting her, while she also stopped visiting her best friend for a while, and even told Maria to find a way to make Tony start his career overseas. It was a nice try, but a futile one. The heart wants what it wants. With time, she realized that she really missed Tony's company. She never knew how much she wanted to keep Tony around, and the young lover boy never stopped calling and texting.
Ma'am, I know you've been avoiding me, but I also know you want the same thing I want. You just don't know how to deal with my mom,
Tony said over the phone. That phone call changed everything. Oliviera found herself letting her guards down. Tony visited and they shared a kiss. It was a mistake that should never have happened. Oliviera just indirectly communicated her feelings to Tony. There was no going back after that, and they both knew it.
If we do this, your mom must never know,
Oliviera stated. Tony had no trouble accepting the condition for their relationship. The weeks that followed was the best for both of them. Oliviera didn't realize how much she wanted a heart to love until she started going out with Tony. They would sneak out of town on weekends and return before Maria could suspect anything going on between them. Tony had a perfect excuse to always be with Oliviera. Tony just graduated from studying sales management, and Oliviera had the experience and skills he needed to succeed. He would lie to his mum that he was understudying with her best friend and also getting hands-on experience from her. The lie could only go on for so long. Maria started suspecting something was fishy. She decided to monitor one of their trips and caught them on a romantic date in a fancy restaurant. She couldn't hide her disappointment in both parties. She stormed Oliviera's house the next morning and gave her a piece of her heart.
Maria, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but Tony and I are in love.
How dare you even think of it? That's my son and you're my best friend. You pushed away several men your age just to end up with my 23-year-old boy? Come on, Ollie, how heartless can you be?
I know there's nothing I can say now to make you understand, but I truly love Tony.
Unlove him, Ollie. Whatever you feel for him, let it go, because I'm not letting you ruin my son's life.
Oliviera stared as Maria stormed out of the house. It was too late to back down now. She was already all in for the young man and was willing to defy the odds to make a future with him.
Tony, pack your bags. You're going to live with your Aunt Suzy in Canada.
You know you can't stop us, Mum. I understand you don't want me seeing your best friend, but it's too late already.
You're in your prime, Tony. She's only 3 years away from her reproductive age.
I don't care, Mum.
Find yourself any girl your age bracket and you'll get our full support. Imagine how your father would feel about this.
Tony walked away from his mum. He was determined to defile whatever stones his mum threw to stop them. Sending Tony abroad didn't stop the loverbirds. Oliviera had the means to travel to anywhere in the world to be with Tony. She also had the means to take care of both of them. Maria eventually got the entire family involved. They were all disappointed and tried every means to make Oliviera lose her reputation as a salesperson. The front page of every national daily in every country Tony and Oliviera fled to always read. 47-year-old saleswoman markets herself to a naive 20-year-old boy in a bid to groom him. The headlines were damning. Oliviera lost some of her biggest endorsements, but was determined to see the relationship work. On Tony's 24th birthday party, he bought a ring and proposed to Oliviera. Oliviera accepted, and it was all over the media. At that point, Maria and whoever dared to stop them knew that were unstoppable. All attempts at separating the two of them only made them stronger together. It was no longer about how anyone felt, but the decision the duo has made. Although marriage was the goal, Oliviera was also set out to make Tony the best version of himself. They say people are naturally drawn to success. Tony became a living proof. Before taking the nuptial vows, Tony won his first award as the youngest outstanding salesperson of the year in his first year as a professional salesperson. Once again, Maria was proud of his son, while still hoping he wouldn't go through with the marriage.
What would that make me, Mum? Oliviera has made me the professional I am today. I have contracts with several multinationals as just north of 24 years. Imagine saying no now. Just imagine the front pages after these.
Maria knew Tony was right. She either supports them and become part of their lives, or fight them and watch from the sideline as his only child keeps making history. She didn't want that for herself. She loved her son and only wanted the best for him. It turned out Oliviera is the best for him. She called Oliviera and declared her support for both of them.
I don't hate you, Maria. I would do the same if I were in your shoes. No mother would watch her only son take such lifelong decision without trying to stop him. You did what you did out of love, and I am sorry that you had to find out the way you did.
Tony and Oliviera continued their love and career success stories, exploring different countries and new markets.